Share the story.
All right, there's a story behind Leo's Rolex. Tell me.
So what did I do? I had this belief that if I get into the abundance mindset and I spend loads of money, I will make back loads of money. So what I did was I went straight to Dubai Mall, spent 20 racks on a Rollie, this beautiful date just mother of pearl, rose gold ting, beautiful thing. And then I went to Five Palm, which is one of the most well-known hotels in Dubai. And me and my friend, business partner, we decided to spend $18,000 to stay in this hotel for 3 nights. It was like, but we got the penthouse. It was like the biggest penthouse out of like 500 rooms. So yeah, we just splashing money left, right, and center with the intention of getting into abundance mindset. Long story short, a couple weeks later, or I don't know, a few weeks later, I ran out of money. Had no money to fly back to London, and yeah, actually ran out of money for food as well, which is kind of crazy. So I ended up staying in a place called Dira, which is outside of the main Dubai. It's like you're in the desert, just like sand everywhere, and it's like where all the taxi drivers from Pakistan and India and whatnot like live. It was like my walls were like brick walls. It was like a little shack. Um, very interesting, very interesting experience. So I, I experienced the high of the highs. Was splashing money in the clubs as well and alcohol. It's ridiculous. And then I experienced the poverty like a few weeks later. Nice story.
How did you make it out with no money?
That's a good question. So I did a fast. I fasted for about 4 days, no food. So didn't have money to eat when I was there. And it's so funny, man. Bro, I used to do some dumb shit. I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, on day 4, I made some money. Oh, I remember actually on the last day, I didn't have enough money to pay my team again. I needed to pull out like $18,000 to pay my team. Didn't have enough money. I told my team to be patient with me. If they want to stay, they can stay. If not, they can leave. But I'll find the money regardless. And then, long story short, that same week, I got 2 deals actually. I got a deal for, I believe it was 40 grand. It's like 40 or 50 grand. I can't remember exactly. And then I also got my biggest client, Mr. B, Mr. Brunson in the marketing space, and who went on to become a client that paid me well over $1 million over the following years. So it was like, I don't know, I was going through initiation, right? Like I was learning how to trust myself, unconditional to what was occurring in the physical reality, self trust. So that was the story of my Rolex.
Damn.
How long ago was this? 20? Yeah, I was like 21, 5 years ago.
How much do you think that Rolex is worth now today?
Mm, it's probably gone up by a couple grand, few grand in value. But I'm not too sure. I don't plan on selling it though. It's like this was the last thing that I'd ever let go or renunciate. Like even during my
Mm.
period of like giving away assets, give away my business. I had these big Instagram pages worth 6 figures. I was giving them away as well. No matter what, the one thing that I would not let go of was this. And I remember sitting even in Mexico. I had nowhere to sleep. And I was like, would I sell this to get a place to sleep and something to eat? It's like, nope, no. I'll be that one homeless guy with a rollie on the wrist. Yeah. Anyways.
I have some similar stories to that, but not so extravagant. Not in Dubai, not with that kind of money. But when I was having my spiritual experience, I remember I took out all the money that I had from my bank account and I thought, okay, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to spend money easily and I know it's going to return to me tenfold. And I remember I went downtown to Toronto and I had, I don't know how much I had in my pocket, maybe a few thousand in hundreds. And somebody stopped me and said, hey, do you have a cigarette? People in Canada are very nice and they're very friendly. And I said, no, no, I'm sorry, I don't. But I just took out $100 bill and I handed it to him. And he was so happy. He was bewildered. He didn't know what to do, but he was smiling. I thought, oh, this is doing something to me. And then I remember going somewhere a few more meters away, and there was a guy living in a tent. I just saw a tent near this church. And I remember knocking on the tent to be like, hello, is anybody in here? And then they're like, yeah, yeah, come in. And then I look inside the tent and it's a guy and a girl. And there's blue lights and it's like a little house. But it's a tiny tent. Or it's like they're, cool space. They're both homeless. And the guy's like, hey, do you have any change or something? I'm like, no, no. And then I take out a $100 bill. I think I took out 200 and I handed it to him. And he's like, oh my God. And then, yeah. I think after a few minutes, I realized this is not the way. I'm just going to run out of money. I need to be smarter about this. So you buying that watch, definitely smart. Smart investment. Going to the hotels, not sure. Maybe you can. Do you think that was worth it? Would you change your mind sleeping in those hotels?
Sleeping in the hotel. I mean, it was dumb, man. I think I'd probably experience more depression there than anywhere else. It's like I just splashed all of this money, but it was all for like an image. It's like, how can I portray myself to be? And I was just showing it off, like on social media. Um, Both me and my friend were more depressed than I think we ever were in our lives. Um, so empty. It's like you think it's gonna give you something, but you're really just sitting in you're just sitting in a building. And don't get me wrong, it was a stunning view. Like you could see the full Dubai skyline. It was like wow, like insane. But like the excitement disappears within like a couple minutes, and then you're like you see it the next day or an hour later or 2 hours later, and you're almost forcing this excitement. You're like, oh, I should be excited because I'm here or because I spent this money, but like deep down inside, it doesn't mean anything. It's so empty. Um, yeah, there was something that I reflected on around how much I did enjoy the feeling of power. I really enjoyed power, specifically when I would go to nightclubs and spend thousands of dollars and on alcohol and got like celebrities in the nightclub. I remember one time Rihanna was just chilling like opposite me smoking a joint in this like private executive club. There was like 25 people there max. And so there was something about like being in those situations, experiencing like this lavish lifestyle, which I enjoyed. I appreciated a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Like I enjoyed being able to have my own table and like pay security guards like £20 and you know do lines, just all kinds of silly stuff like just freedom. And this is a part of my masculine self that I'm reclaiming. My belly, the one that loves to do whatever it wants whenever it wants.
When I was going through this experience, my mom told me stories of people that she read online, people that were going through a manic episode that they call it. And she recounted this one story of this man. Something happened, I guess, as Kundalini raised, and he decided, I'm just rich, and he took out all the money, life savings that they had, his family, So his wife and everything. And he went to Las Vegas, rented out a hotel, and just started gambling because he's rich and he has a rich mindset. And 2 to 3 days later, it was all gone. When she told me that story, I laughed. I'm like, yeah, there's a man that kind of gets it. You're here living once, and maybe he regrets it. I don't know. But simultaneously, it's about spending it wisely, investing it. That's the way to true wealth investments.
Yeah, I wouldn't regret any of the experiences where I've made money and lost money. People always reflect back to me. I mean, even when I was, 16 years old, having 63 bitcoins total, which today would be, well over $3 million. People are like, oh, and I lost all of that. I've been scammed hundreds of thousands of dollars, spread out across multiple times. I've made millions in my business. I've lost millions. I've spent so much money. But every time I spent money, I learned a very valuable lesson. It's like it was an investment into something that was not necessarily physical. And so people go their entire lives holding on to money, attached to money because of fear. And what I say is, like, be okay with losing money, be okay with giving money, be okay with investing money, even if you don't necessarily gain something material out of it. For the experience, the lesson, all of it can be invaluable. The story can be invaluable. I think I had more fun in this life when I had no money than when I had money.
In 2018, I went to Myanmar, Burma. I went to the Pog Side House Forest Monastery and I had some crazy experiences there. And I emerged and I had nowhere to go, no direction, nothing. And I thought, I don't know what I thought, but I took my little backpack that had my phone and my passport and a few $100s, and I went walking in the middle of the night in this very poor country, military-run country, very dangerous. And I just put it onto someone's front porch. I just blessed them with it. There's my passport, all of my identity, everything. I just laid it down. Then I just started walking on the street in the middle of the night. There's nobody there because everybody's sleeping. And I remember looking down at my shoes and they were kind of hurting me because they were rubber. I threw them away. And then I remember going into my pockets and I took out a pen and an iPhone charger, but no iPhone. Those are all the possessions that I had. And I put them back in my pocket. And nothing else. And I just started walking. Then some things happened. I landed on a little open piece of concrete in front of a factory. And I was so miserable at the time, so unhappy, so much my mind was suffering. It was unbearable. And then I decided, you know what? From this day forward, I'm going to make myself joyful. I'm going to make myself happy. And I just started chanting, I'm happy, I'm joyful, I'm joyful, I'm joyful. And as I kept on chanting, I woke up the security guard that was guarding the factory. I didn't even know he was there. He was sleeping. He was supposed to be awake, but he wasn't. And he looked at me. I'm a foreigner. And it's not like Thailand or anybody else. You're white and it's kind of okay. This is like, what is this? What is this white devil doing here? And he called the police. The police came, spoke American. I was joking around with them. They were asking me, what's your name? I'm like, I don't have a name. I was telling them the truth. Then finally the police officer took out a 44 Magnum. And he's like, buddy, look, I'm not joking around here. When he took it out, I'm like, oh, all right, I respect. I see. So then they took me back to the monastery. They figured out that that's where I was. I didn't tell them. And then many hours later, they brought my backpack and they gave it back to me. And I started crying because there was a few $100s in there. My iPhone was in good condition. They could have sold it. It was a very poor country. They could have made a lot of money. But that whoever that person was gave it back. Yeah.
Wow,
So I vowed to never do that again.
that's a great story, man. I think these experiences are character building experiences. You know, I don't think there's anything that I would trade for some of these like lowest times. Yeah.
It's funny, the lowest times is that time is like, wow, I really did something. I was rich then with life or with courage or with something. That's a very memorable time.
Rich with life, courage with something. Yeah, it's like there's a part of me sometimes that like envies who I was and like the chaos and the courage, the fearlessness. I think right now I'm going through a process of again reclaiming that part of myself, courage, that fearlessness, that belly, the animal that's just venturing on the streets, doesn't care about anything. Um, because yeah, we can bring that into this moment. You know, we can bring those parts of ourselves back here and now. Sometimes we just like shut it off or we brush it under the carpet, or it's like you were telling me about the time when you was age 1 to 9 or whatever in Ukraine, and it was a part of you that was a lot more expressive, that didn't care, that was very devilish as a child. And then we get older and we brush it away because of conditioning, because our parents say no, because of society. But if we reclaim those parts of ourselves, I think that's full integrated power. I think that's a beautiful way to live.
Something that Sadhguru says, he was asked, Sadhguru, how do you describe yourself in one word? And he said, can I use 2 words? They're like, okay. And he says, I'm a wildlife, meaning he's like a jungle animal. No oppression, no social conditioning, no ifs, ands, or buts, just wild. That's how I wish to be. That's how I was in Ukraine. And I think that's what you're talking about as well. Be like a wild man.
This reminds me actually of a friend I had when I was in school. Back, I don't know, I must have been 13 years old, 14 years old. And I had this friend who he moved from the Philippines. And when he was in the Philippines, he used to just beat people up on the street all the time. Like he was very aggressive, this aggressive kid. And when he came to London, he just became silent. He didn't do anything. He didn't say anything. He was like so repressed. It was insane. And then one time I saw him actually, like, he got attacked when he, after school, he beat the shit out of this guy. It was the craziest thing I ever witnessed. I was like, "Ooh, there it is, there it is." But it reminds me of like, but then he went back to his repressed self, you know. And I think most of us live our entire lives just like repressing who we were from like age 1, 6, whatever, young, barely activated, no cares in the world, full expression. And yeah, I think it's beautiful to reclaim those parts of ourselves.
Yeah, as I was telling you, I was telling you the story of when I was in Ukraine. I was a devilish child, and you can get away with it there. You could do whatever you want. I remember doing things that I don't even want to say it on camera. It's like, oh my God. Don't ever do this in the Western world. Or don't ever do this anywhere. But crazy stuff I was doing as a child. Taking all sorts of things, doing things to people's property. Wow. And Ukraine was different. It's a third world country, or not as many rules. Then I remember when I came to Canada at 9 years old, everything was so clean and pristine and orderly, and I thought, oh, this is the best looking prison I've ever seen. I can't get away with doing anything here. They'll catch me, throw me in jail, that's it. And then I just kind of became quiet and became a good little boy. So I guess both are wrong. The first is wrong because you don't want to do that stuff. Second is wrong because you don't want to be repressed. So you got to find a healthy balance.
Healthy middle, yes. It's like you accept the inner chaotic, crazy version of yourself, and you accept the grounded, collected, respectful aspect of yourself. You bring both together. Bring both together. Yeah.
I think that's it. Take care.